This was where we concluded the part 2 of this video. We were able to come up with the front panel, and this is what it looks like. So in this video, we're going to be starting with the back panel. These are the pieces for the back panel as cut with the pattern in the part 1 of this masterclass. This is the handle we're going to be using, as well as the cushioning for the handle. So we're going to start with the cushion for the handle, and this has a padding and 2 back fabrics to cover each side. So I'm folding it to see how I want it to fold. So once I figure out where I want to fold on, I'm going to take my velcro tape, and that's what you're doing here. You take the velcro tape and you stitch on it. So you're stitching on your back fabric alongside your padding, but you're not putting the other end of the back fabric. So stitch your velcro tape to one side, stitch on both ends, then the other side of the velcro tape you're going to stitch to the other end. Okay, so remove the back fabric from the underneath so that your stitch is not being seen on your back fabric. So you can see how I remove the back fabric for the other one from underneath while I stitch the velcro tape to the other end. So once you have your velcro tape on each end, you can see how it looks. So fold it to be sure that you have the right thing done. Once you're sure that you've done the right thing, the next thing, you're going to take your taping belt and you're going to tape around. So I'll be using the black taping belt for this. So I'm trying to look at the one that is going to be on top or the one that is going to be beneath. Whichever way, you're just going to take your taping belt and you're going to tape around. So I decided to start from the sides. So once you get to where you started the taping from, you're going to cut off the excess taping, burn the edges so that it doesn't loosen, and then you finish off the stitching by tucking the initial one underneath the new one. So this was not well sewn. I had to sew it again. Then cut off all the loose threads, and you would have something that looks like this. So we're going to attach the cushion to the handle itself. So remember to burn the edges of your handle because it's a belt and it can loosen. Then find the midpoint and then you stitch. So I'm just going to fold it around it like this to be sure which of the sides I'm supposed to stitch. So you can use just one line to join the both together, or you can make a double line. But here I'm using a double line to join the both together. So once we're done with that, we're going to take the back panel and we're going to attach the zip. So before that, you want to put the handle on the top part of the back panel. So you fold into two and then you mark the midpoint. Remember how we did for the front panel? We took 3 inches from the midpoint and 3 inches from the top. So that's what we're going to do here as well. So 3 inches from the midpoint, 3 inches from the top, and you sew 2 inches out of the 3 inches you took from the top. So stitch the handle to the back panel. You're only stitching 2 inches out of the 3 inch that you left from the top. Then you can cross stitch as well for the durability of your handle. So the other one as well, ensure that your handle is straight and then you stitch. You're taking 3 inches from the midpoint and 3 inches from the top. So once you're done stitching the handle to the top part of the back panel, you take the lower part of the back panel and the lining for it, and you're going to take your zip. So we are going to use this jean material, pieces of jean material, to do the zip stopper So that's what we have here. It's also the same width as the zip. So the right side of your zip is going to face the right side of your jean material or whatever material you're using, and the other side, which is the wrong side of the zip, is going to face the lining. Then you stitch this way. So this is what it is going to look like on both ends. Very neat. Okay, so you measure where the zip is to get to, and then by 1 inch to the end, you're going to cut that off, and you use your jean material to finish it. So before that, you're going to insert your zipper, and then you finish it off. So you stop the zip. This jean material serve as your zip stopper. So you use whatever material that you're using for the bag fabric of your bag. Okay, so the right side of the zip will face the right side of your panel, while the lining is going to be on the other side. But I want to sew it one after the other so that you can see what I am doing, rather than just sewing everything at once. So first you sew the zip to the back panel, that's the lower panel for the back, and then you stitch the lining on it. So you're going to top stitch over the panel on the main panel so that it becomes flat. It is held down flat. So this is what we have on the other end and on the front side. So you're going to take the top part of the back panel and you do the same thing. So the right side of the zip facing the right side of your main panel, and then you stitch. So be watchful of your zipper pull. Be watchful of your zipper because it can cause your needle to break if you are not careful enough. So you want to ensure it is not in your parts while you are stitching. Once you're done doing that, you want to sew the lining as well. So the main reason why the lining is not the exact shape of this top part is because of the pressure that the handle is going to put on the top part of the bag. So you want to ensure that you distribute part of the pressure towards the bottom part of the bag, so that it is not only the top part of the bag that is bearing the pressure from the handle. So that is why the lining for this is going to be the exact lining from the point where the top part of this back panel starts to the bottom. So once you're done with that, you're going to top stitch. Once you're done top stitching, this is what it is going to look like on the back side. Then you take your main pattern, that's the leather padding, and you're going to use it to trim the panel to fit exactly the shape. Then you put your lining on the back and you're going to stitch around just the same way we did for the front. So you're going to follow the pattern on the inside, that's the padding you put inside. You're going to follow it to stitch round. If you're not padding your bag, just ensure that you follow the exact shape. You trim it out appropriately and follow the exact shape to sew around. So once you're done stitching, you're going to trim the excess lining off and the excess material. Once you're done trimming, you're going to take the midpoint of the back panel, that's fold into two, and mark the midpoint at the bottom and at the top. Once you mark the midpoint, the next thing is you want to pipe. So the same way we piped the front is the same way we're going to pipe the back. So basically allow for some extra leather that you have to cut off the piping, and then you pipe around the edges. When you get to the corners, you create some tiny slits so that your piping can fold around or can bend around the curved corners. Then when you get to the bottom, you cut off the excess piping and you tuck it into the extra leather that you left while you were starting the piping. And that's it for the way to pipe the material. So this is the front and this is the back together. You can tuck in the handle into the cushion, and this is what we'll have. So now we're going to go to sew the gusset for the bag. So for the gusset, we're going to start with the top gusset, that's the zip gusset. So you take the pattern off, that was the pattern, and then this is the padding for it. I'm putting it on the lining as well as on the major bag fabric, that's the jean material we are using for this bag. So I'm going to be trimming this in order to fit the exact edge. But before I trim, I'm just going to sew around, following the edges of the padding inside. Remember that the padding is the exact shape, the exact pattern that we need. So it's essential that we follow the exact pattern, which the padding is serving as the exact pattern in this case. I'm just going to sew around the edges of the padding. So I'm setting it in place because it keeps moving. Okay, because it keeps moving, I have to set it in place. Okay, so once I'm done with this, I'm going to trim the excess off. Then we're going to put the piping material on it. So we're going to pipe it round. So cut off some parts of the piping so that we have an extra leather, so that we don't stitch on our piping when we are about to join the zip gusset back to the base gusset. So we're going to pipe this round. We're piping it through. Once we've finished piping it like that, I'm also still going to trim the excess that we may have around. Then you're going to take your zip cloth and then you're going to place the zip on it round, right? All the parts that you have piped, you're going to place your zip around that area as well. So I'm sewing from the wrong side so that I can see the stitch I made on the piping. So the stitching from the piping, I'm going to see it through this end. Then I can stitch exactly on the stitch line or inwards, so that I know that my zip is sitting well on the piping. Once you are done, you're going to cut off the zip on the other end. Then the next thing is you're going to tape it round, just for neat finishing. So you take your taping belt and then you tape round as well. So that helps you to cover the rough edges. Once you're done taping it, you're going to take the midpoint of this. So you're going to bring the two sides together and find the midpoint on the other end of the zip before you detach the zip from the zip gusset. Okay, from the first part of the zip gusset, you're going to take the other side of the zip gusset. Remember this pattern, so you're going to take this as well. I'll place the padding on it, and this is serving as my pattern right now, and I'm going to trim. Okay, so trim it round, look for the midpoint of your main material and mark it so that you are able to use the midpoint to align it with the midpoint of the zip as well. So remember the midpoints that we marked on the zip. We're going to align it with the main panel here, and we'll stitch. So once you've sewn the zip to the main panel, they are going to join this main panel to the padding as well as to the lining. So first I'll join it to the lining. So just follow the same shape on the lining. Then create some tiny slits since it's a curved area, and you're going to turn it inwards to the right side and you top stitch. So this top stitch helps it to flatten up. So once you're done with that, you're going to put the pad into the main material. But before then, I want to zip it to see how it looks before putting the pad for the other one. So use your zipper to join the zip together again. And then this becomes one single panel. So we are going to have two zippers for this. So from the other end, the second zip is going to come in. So I'm trying to look at it if it is straight enough. Then I saw that okay, it was straight enough, it was good, and I inserted the second zipper. So your zipper has to come in straight. If they are casing, there has to be no excess zip in between the zippers, so you have to watch that. So I'm going to insert the padding into the other part of the zip gusset so that it is standing well. The main essence of the padding, so that even if there is nothing inside the bag still maintains a structure. Okay, it is not like that is the lifeblood of the bag. If you want your bag to be, very soft, you don't want it to maintain a structure, you want it to be something you can fold into another bag when it is not in use, then you can skip the part of the padding. You don't necessarily have to pad. So once you're done stitching, you're going to cut off the excess lining. Don't cut your zip, just the excess lining. You cut it off, and then you fold this into two to find the midpoint. because that is what you're going to use to connect it to the main panel. That's the front panel, the back panel of the travel bag. So you have to look for the midpoint before you join these to your base gussets.
Hi guys, I lost a few clips from the tutorial, so I'm going to be replacing it with some other clip. So the clip about the base gusset, where I put the zip on the base gusset and joined it to the zip gusset, I was unable to find the clip in my file, so I have to quickly do a makeup clip. Here I'm going to be showing you what I did to the base gusset and how I joined it to the front gusset, and then we'll pick it up from there with the clips that I have. So please bear with us and enjoy this tutorial. Thank you.
So this is the material that we'll be using to make up for the missing clip. So I just use this to show you how to go about your base gusset. This is not the original pattern. You have the original pattern, so you just do what I do here, right, on your original pattern. So this is just a makeup. So what you need is, you need 2 pockets, and this is a pocket. Okay, this is how straight it is going to be. Let me take it off so you see. This is how straight it is going to be. The length will be exactly the length of where this is going to meet with this. Okay, so you take it 1/2 inch down to where your slant is starting from. So because your slant is starting from the curved part of the bag, so you don't want the pocket to extend beyond the curved part of the bag, so you can just take it 1 inch above where your slant ends. So that's what you will use to measure the pockets, and whatever you measure there is going to be what you should have from here to here. So what you have from here to here will be what you measure from 1/2 inch down your pattern to 1 inch before where your curve starts on your base gusset. So that's what you have for your lining, and you have this in 2 places because you're going to put in the zip at the 2 ends, this side and this side. So this jean material, this is representing our base gusset. Okay, so this is a smaller version. It's just to show you what you're to do with your base gusset and how to join it back to the gussets that we just made in the last video. So this is the lens material, this is the leather padding, and this is the lining for your base gusset. I already showed you in the beginning of part 2 that your lens is your exact pattern, but your lining is longer and this is longer. Okay, you can see that this is longer because you're still going to cut this and join it to this pocket. So by the time you are done, it will become short and it will fit exactly this pattern. Now you're going to take 1 inch downwards and then you slit. So once you have this, what you're going to do is you're going to take one end of this and you're going to put this. So now this pocket is quite bigger than our jean, so we're still going to trim the pocket. So just leave this, ensure that it's at the middle. Then you take your zip, so the right side of the zip faces the right side of your jean material. That's how to do a pocket. Then you place this wrong side of the zip, place it on the lining and you stitch. Once you're done stitching that, you cut off the excess and this is what you have. So you take it to the other side and then you top stitch. Okay, so like this, you bring this like this and then you top stitch on the jean material. So whatever material you are using, that is what you top stitch on, not necessarily or that you use the jean material. So for this other end, you do the same thing. You place it on your lining. So you take your gusset at this point. Okay, this is the part that we cut off. So you take this and then you place it. So the right side of this faces the right side of the zip, and the wrong side of the zip faces the lining. So you also top stitch, but mind you, when you are top stitching on this, you only bring this downwards, you don't bring the lining downwards, just this part alone. That's where you bring downwards like this. and then you top stitch so that you don't block your pockets. So we have this already. We can go ahead to put so this is what we have. So we'll still leave this, we'll trim it later. Then for this as well, we follow the same process. So when you're done fixing the two zips, this is what you're going to have on both ends. Okay, this is how it looks. So your pocket comes down right here, pocket comes down here. So to continue with this, first set the lining apart and then sew your leather padding to this. So basically just sew your leather padding to this at the top. So one thing that you should notice is that this your leather padding represents the exact measurement you need to have on your base gusset. So the leather padding is exactly 35.5 inches that we had when we were measuring and cutting for our pattern. So once you have the leather padding stitched at the top and stitched at the, so it tells you where you need to join to your zip gusset. So it shows you the excess that you have and the exact line to join it back to your zip gusset. So you take your zip gusset. So this is the pattern for the zip gusset. Okay, so let's assume that this is this, and that is why I made this little curve to show that okay, we've joined this together already in the previous clips. We've joined this together, so let us now join it to the base gusset. Okay, so the right side of your zip gusset is going to face the right side of the base gusset, and this is what we have here. So you place this on this, and then right on the zip, that is where you place the lining for your gusset. Remember that the right side of the zip gusset is facing the right side of the base gusset. Now the wrong side is the one facing up, so that is what you're going to place your lining on, this, and then you stitch. Before you go ahead to make the stitch, you have to put your D-ring. So you put your D-ring in your belt. So use a very strong belt for this, because this little thing is going to be the one carrying most of the weight whenever your client or whenever the user uses the shoulder strap. So this carries the whole weight. So you can use a broader one. If you are using this, ensure that it is tight. And then in between the zip gusset and the base gusset, you put this. Okay, so if you don't want to stress about this shifting, you can sew it to the zip gusset first. Just sew it to the zip gusset first in the middle. Then by the time you are bringing this on this, it is already attached to the zip gusset. But in this case, we've not already attached it to the zip gusset in the previous clip, so just do it this way. And then you stitch. So when you get here, ensure to stitch twice so that it is durable. Don't forget to stitch this twice. By the time you turn this around, right, the wrong side of your zip gusset is going to be facing the lining. It's going to be on the same line with the lining, while the right side of your zip gusset is going to look just like this with your base gusset. Can you see? So the next thing that you're going to do now is to top stitch on this. So once you're done top stitching, this is how it looks. You see, it is flattened, and then your zip is here. Now for this other part of your zip gusset, all you need to do is take this, bring it over here. This is the right side, so I know what I'm doing. Bring it over here, align it with this, then take your lining. Your lining is like this. You don't bring your lining to follow your zip gusset. You bring the lining the other way around to face the wrong side, to face shows your lining faces the wrong side of your zip gusset. Now I want to believe that you have already trimmed the length of your zip gusset. So from what we did, where we after we fixed the zip gusset, we coupled the zip gusset together and everything, you have to take the measurements to ensure that it aligns with the measurement you had in the beginning. If that is done, so the next thing is for you to do this. So you also join this together. Don't forget to put your D-ring, okay? This D-ring that you have here, ensure to put it here as well. So turn it to the right side. Once you turn it to the right side, you bring your lining back downwards this way. You see your lining is back under here. Then this, your zip gusset is standing alone. So don't forget to top stitch. You're top stitching on your base gusset. So once you're done, this is what you would have. So your zip gusset at the top and then your base gusset downwards. So the next thing that you're going to do is to sew this and then trim. So you sew this downwards. So here we have joined the zip gusset to the base gusset and everything is in place. The measurement is accurate and we have our midpoints that we marked. So we're going to use the midpoints on the zip gusset to connect it to the main panel, to join it to the main panel. So the midpoints that we marked on the zip, connecting it to the midpoints on one of the panels, which in this case is the back panel. So you start stitching from there. And then we are going to stitch round. Once you're done stitching around, it should look like this. The joining line should be on the same line, and the next thing you want to do is to cover the rough edges with your taping belt. So you take your taping belt and you do what we've been doing, that's to tape the edges round. So once you're done taping the edges round, it will look like this. Then the next thing is to insert the front panel. So you take the front panel as well and then you attach it to the gusset. So look for the midpoint on the top part of the gusset, align it to the midpoint on the top part of the main panel as well. So the marked points, you bring them together and you're going to stitch around just the same way you did for the back panel. I'm trying to sew from the other side at this end. Instead of sewing directly on the zip gusset, I'm sewing on the main panel. Then the zip gusset is beneath. I'm going to sew around this way. So once you're done stitching, it's going to look like this. So check around to be sure that what you have sewn is straight and is good. So you can see the angle at the bottom. You can see that it is straight. So the part that was not well sewn, I'm going to stitch that again. So this part was a bit bulky, so I had to just stitch it again. Then once you're done and you're sure that everything you've sewn is all good, you trim the bulky sides to be sure that yes, you are good. Then you're going to take your taping belt and you're going to tape round. All the excess threads you may have, all the loose threads, you can use your spark to burn them off, or you can also use your scissors to cut them, to trim them as low as possible. So here we are done with the interior of the bag. We're now going to turn the bag inwards, right? So turn it to the right side. For the long shoulder strap of the bag, first you connect the tip of the strap to your adjuster. Then you take the other end and pass it through your hook, then bring it back to come in into the adjuster, and then finish the mount by attaching it to the second hook. For the padding of the shoulder, for the cushion of the shoulder, so you take your material and then you arrange it in order. So you take your padding, insert it into the middle of the back panel you're using, of the fabric you're using, and then place another layer of your material on it so that the belt can pass through that, and then you tape round. So this was proving a bit difficult to tape. I just had to stitch it down, just to hold it down for me to be able to stitch. So I'm going to start taping from the side. So we are taping round. So once you're done sewing the cushion for the shoulder strap, we're going to pass the shoulder strap through the cushion just this way, and that's it. So the part that was not properly stitched, I went back and I stitched it. And so we're going to attach the shoulder strap to the travel bag. So the part of the D-ring, that's where you're going to attach your shoulder strap to. Okay, so there we have the travel bag. We have a back zip pocket. We have our main pocket. Okay, we have our main pocket where we can put our things. We have the inner part, inner organizer, and that's what our travel bag looks like. So I'll be looking forward to seeing yours.
Thank you so much for watching the tutorial. I hope that you've been able to pick one or two lessons if you are already into bag making, and if you're new to bag making, I hope that with this tutorial that you just watched, you have enough confidence to be able to make your own travel bag that is going to look much more like this, or even apply the knowledge to some other things that you would love to make in the future. Permit me to use this opportunity to tell you that our next batch of the handbag construction class is going to be starting on the 28th of April 2025. In this class, we are going to be teaching you the nitty-gritty of how to make structured handbags. This class is not just a class where we teach you 4 designs and you are left to figure things out on your own. This is a class that takes you through the dimensions, pattern drafting that applies to any kind of bag that you may see anywhere. This broadens your knowledge, and when you see a bag on first sight, you can analyze the pattern and you can draft it out on your own without my intervention as your tutor. That is one of the things that the class is about. How steps that you can take, even if you don't have money to practice right now, there are things that you can practice with that will sharpen your skill, that will sharpen your knowledge and boost your confidence in order to be able to attempt any kind of bag. So the next handbag construction class is starting on the 28th of April until 31st of May, and I would love to see you in this class. I would love to be your tutor. I would love to take you through how to make handbags and see the amazing things that you have done. Let me quickly show you some of the feedbacks that we have gotten from our classes so far. So here are some of the bags that some of our students have been able to make from the handbag construction class. There are much more that if you're also looking to be able to make bags like this, to be able to create new designs of your own, then this handbag construction class is the class that you're looking to join. Training fee is 50,000 naira, that is about $47. The link to join the handbag construction class is in the video description below. See you in class.